Hi everyone, Colin Shadwell back for another video of some of the finished pieces that I've done from this summer. In this video I'm going to be showing the 6 teapots that I did this summer. Teapots were kind of I won't say the hardest things to make, they're just kind of the most frustrating because it involves making so many different pieces. It's not just throwing a vessel and then doing a little trimming and then some cutting out. You have to actually make a couple different parts: the lid, the spout, the handle, trim, cut out. So it can be kind of labor intensive, but in the end I think they worked out pretty well. So here's my 6 varieties that I made, and we'll go through these one by one. And again, I'll tell you all the glazes that I used and the different combinations. So let's check these teapots out. So we're going to start with my worst one here first. So not all of these turned out great, and this is my triangle tunnel teapot that I did early in the year. The vessel itself was okay. It had a couple little cracks in it, a couple little imperfections, but the glaze covered up a lot of it. And I usually go through and I research what glaze I want to use. I pick out a color, and then usually they're pretty true. If you do the combinations right, you do the layering right, you'll get pretty close to what you want. But I did a base coat of Teapots and a top coat of deep sienna speckle, and when I got out of the kiln, man, it was ugly. It was just the worst color of brown speckle color I've ever seen. So I actually went through and I added a coat of palladium on top of it after I'd fired it and fired it again. And it ran down, and you can see at the bottom of this, it ended up fusing to the shelf and got some cracking on the bottom. So it was just kind of one of those pieces that I could tell it just wasn't going to work out in the first place. So in the end, the color turned out okay, but with all the cracking on the bottom, this will probably be a non-showing piece, just a keeper for me and a lesson on how to make sure I glaze it right the first time. This next teapot I did is from the video Indent Teapot number 1, where I just took a little screwdriver tool and made these little indents on the side, a little chattering on the top. This is a nice little piece. I like the colors a lot. This has got a double layer of deep olive speckle, which is a kind of a light green, covered by ironstone, which is dark brown. So you kind of get that little green showing through the brown here too. It's really a nice small little teapot. The shape of it worked really well. The handle is a nice handle, holds the grip, holds really well. And the texture has shown through on the top here. So this one's a nice little piece. I'm kind of proud of this one. It's tiny, it's small. I'm not sure how much tea it would actually hold, but for just a nice decorative piece, it turned out pretty well. And I'm happy with the colors and happy with the way it turned out. So here's my square tunnel teapot from that video. This one, the shape is just kind of weird. It was kind of the last one I did. The handle is weird. The lid is kind of almost precariously a little too high, but it's just kind of a cool little display piece that I wouldn't want to hold it too much and shake it too much because that lid wants to fall off a lot. But this has got a base of deep fire brick, which is obviously a red, and then I put this smoky merlot, which is kind of a reddish purple maroon on top of it. So I kind of knew this was going to be a kind of a deep red color the entire way through, and I don't know, I think it kind of works still. It's not my favorite of this series, but an interesting look nonetheless. And the bright red and the little purple showing through kind of make it pop even more. So not a bad piece. This one might be my favorite of the series. This is Indent Teapot number 2, where I just took some little stamps and did the stamps on the bottom, but the color on this one is really fantastic. This has got a base of blue rutile, and then I bought a bottle of this glaze called Toasted Sage, which is kind of like a smoky gray, and when you put on top of stuff, it really kind of like mutes it down and gives you this nice bright dull kind of color, which I guess there's no such thing as a bright dull color. I don't know what I meant to say there, but anyway, the color turned out great, and the way it runs down where it pitted up inside the little indents that I pushed in really kind of made for a unique looking color, and the shape of it really kind of lends well to it. So it's another small little teapot, not a big one, but the handle, the lid, the color especially made it all turn out pretty well. So here's the first of my 2 cutaway teapots. This is from Cutaway Teapot number 1 video. This has got a base of blue midnight, which is a dark deep blue, which you can see through there, and then it's got top coats of iron luster, which is obviously kind of a rusty kind of brownish color that runs down quite a bit, so you can see how the blue shines through there. There's only one coat, a real big thick coat of blue on the bottom, and then 3 coats of iron luster on top. But just an amazing kind of color, and I love how the negative space on this one really shines through. Being able to cut that away and then put the handle back in, flowing into the same kind of roundness of the whole shape, really kind of makes for an interesting piece. So I might try to do more of these. I like these cutaway handles. They're really kind of fun to do, and the overall pleasing look to them as well. Finally, here's Cutaway Teapot number 2, which is the taller of the 2 cutaway teapots that I did. This has a base of Teapots, which is kind of that brownish, yellowish speckle kind of glaze behind it. And then it's got some lustrous jade on top, which is kind of that green float that you see kind of going on there. And again, it just depends on how thick you put it in different places. You obviously I don't want it to be all green, and I want some of that red to show through anywhere. So it just kind of depends on how thick you're putting it on here. But again, I like this shape a lot. It's kind of the taller of the two pieces. It's stretched out a bit more. The colors I don't think are as good as the last cutaway teapot, but still they're interesting. The brown and the light bluish green kind of reflects off each other, so it's a nice contrast there. So yet another nice piece. So that's it for this video. Those are the 6 teapots that I did. I hope you enjoy watching them. I thought they all turned out pretty nicely, except for that first triangle vase, or that triangle teapot. Not my favorite, but you live and you learn. So I've got one more video coming out of finished glazed pieces. It's the last batch of really big vases that I'm going to do. I've got half of them glazed and soon to be all glazed, I hope. So in the next few weeks, I hope you'll check back in and make some comments on this video. Let me know what you think of these teapots. Comment, Facebook, post, all that stuff. Insta-tweet, Picturegram, whatever you kids do these days. So let me know what you think, and thanks for watching.